You can't hold me down. 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 You can't hold me.
I'm here with my dog Weenie. The reason why I have my dog with me is to show you that, I have a dog too, and we rent apartments also. So we know the struggles of trying to find an apartment that allows dogs. And not only do we know the struggles of finding an apartment that allows dogs, we also know the struggles of allowing tenants in your apartment with dogs. And we're going to say dogs meaning pets in general, because cats are linked in there too. But Weenie's 7 years old, and I'm very attached to my dog. He's pretty much practically my baby. He's spoiled, and he's seriously well behaved, well potty trained, doesn't bark, lots of good stuff. But as you guys all know, every tenant will tell you this. So I would treat myself, if I was a tenant, as I treated every other tenant, because I don't know them, and I don't know their dog. So when we make policies, we have to make policies on everyone. And that's what it mainly comes down to. So about 5 years ago, when he's 7, but about maybe 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I had a lot of problems with people and their dogs in my rental units. And I came very close on not allowing dogs, cats, just too big of a problem. But honestly, since I'm a dog lover and I also rent, I really didn't like the thought of making people give up their dog, to find a place to rent. So I thought about it for a while, and then I decided that instead of not allowing dogs, that I was just going to make some changes. And I'm going to talk about some of the changes. I also want to talk about some of the pros of allowing tenants with pets and cons, which there's a lot more cons, believe it or not. Before we get into this, though, I also want to talk about why this is an issue. Overall, I think there's a lot of tenants out there that do have really good behaved dogs, and they are responsible tenants when it comes to their dogs. Dogs are part of their family, and many times they'll do anything they need to do to make sure that their dog's there, happy, and with them. So there's a lot of responsible dog owners. The issue with this is that it's the few unresponsible owners that don't care for their dogs and don't make their dog behave, don't clean up after their dogs, and don't pay for the damages for their dogs. And those few people makes it where it's not even worth it to take the chance. Because again, I don't know you, you don't know me. So I don't know if your dog's going to be well taken care of, and I don't know if you're going to pay for any of the damages. Just like if I was going to rent your car and crash it, you don't know if I'm going to pay for those damages. So there's a lot of issues with this. And the other part is that when you say no dogs, you have to be fair and with everyone. So for example, if you allow dogs, you have to allow everyone that has a dog pretty much. I mean, you can do all the vetting, all the stuff to make sure that the dog's nice and calm and behaved, but many times you can't catch that until after they moved in. You can go meet the dog. I mean, my dog, he looks pretty happy and stuff, but he's not showing me that he's not going to poop on the floor. The only reason I know that is because I've lived with him, but without living with them and being around him a lot, I don't know how he's going to act. I don't know if he's going to bark. A lot of times he's not barking now, but how about when he hears the neighbor walk across the ceiling, at midnight, 2 in the morning? Is he going to start barking? So, I mean, there's a lot of issues on that kind of topic. So, again, when you start allowing dogs or not allowing dogs, you pretty much have to make it a rule and have it for everyone. So that's where it goes on. You can't say, one tenant comes in, sorry, we don't allow dogs, and then, another tenant over here, we allowed them to have a dog. So there's going to be issues with that, and I think the laws don't protect you for that. You can sit there and say that it's for other issues, but you're getting into a gray area. So when it comes down to it, you either have to allow dogs or you have to not allow dogs. And if you allow dogs, I mean, there is other stipulations, like you can have higher deposits, and you can also put restrictions on them. But again, you're going to have to do that for everyone. So if you're going to allow dogs and allow, let's say, a $500 deposit, you're going to have that enforced on everyone that moves in. So that's another issue. All right, so first I want to talk about the pros to allowing people with dogs. A lot of times you're going to get a lot of good tenants that have behaved dogs, and that the tenants are taking care of their dogs, and they're taking care of their damages, stuff like that. A lot of times you also don't know until they're about to move out, and that's another problem with being a landlord. Is not only is the dog not causing issues, but after they've been there for 2 years, they decide to move, and then you go in and you see all the damages, and your deposit doesn't cover it. So that's also a huge issue, and like sometimes you don't know until it's already too late, and then they just don't pay it. So like that's another part of it. So I guess I'm going to go into. I should stay with the positives real quick. So you're going to be getting a lot more tenants that have dogs. You also, over time, people won't move out because they want to get a pet, like mostly if they get kids and stuff. And I think you're going to keep more long-term tenants by allowing pets with them. I think pets are emotional support for you, like mentally. I think a lot of people are happier doing stuff. And that's a whole different issue with the emotional support animal. But I think it's really good, ideal for people to have dogs. A lot of times they are happier. There is a lot of issues with it, but I mean, you can cope with them. But I think you're going to get tenants that are going to be more long-term. And I also find a problem. I have a lot of one-bedrooms, and I get a lot of people that actually want a bigger apartment to a two-bedroom, and for their needs, and a lot of times I find them still staying in my one-bedrooms because there's nowhere for them to go that allow pets. A lot of people are out there very struggling to find apartments that's going to allow them and their pets. And sometimes I get tenants that stay at my places much longer just because I allow pets. So I guess that's the two positives. So I mean, again, the list isn't too long, and that's why I think a lot of landlords are going to the no pets. So now I'm going to get to the cons of allowing pets. The first one is what it is for everyone, damages. There's so many damages. Even good pet owners sometimes can cause damages. And a lot of times you can have a good tenant that has pets you never have problems with until it's time for them to move out, and you see the damages the dog's made, and they just skip out and not pay for it. And now you're left with, should you take them to small claims or not, and are you going to get small claims from them? So now you're either left with, most of the time you're going to be just eating the cost and not getting that money and having to do all the repairs. The next one for me is actually just as big. It's all the barking, the noise complaints that you're going to get. You're going to have tons of tenants always calling, hey, the guy in apartment C, his dog won't shut the fuck up, and fucking going crazy. And then now not only are you going to have that, but you're going to have those tenants getting into it. So now you're going to have them getting into fights over it and doing things to piss each other off. And that will create other problems there. So that's a huge thing too. It gets crazy when you're dealing with tenants' issues. And at the end of this video, I'll talk about some of the things that I've done to correct this problem. The other issue sometimes isn't as big, but sometimes it can be big, is are your tenants going to pick up like the dog waste? And it can become a huge problem when for me, I only have it at one property that I have a problem. It's a fourplex, and right now I actually have clean up your waste on the premises. I have signs posted, and it's also in the pet policy. My lease actually states no pets, but I do allow a pet policy to allow pets. So for pets to be there, you do have to sign a pet policy. And it does, I don't mention it, but at this fourplex, I do allow tenants, if they're outside and no one complains about it, that they can, because it's a pretty big yard actually. So there's a whole 2 sides and a big backyard. As long as they take their dogs to those areas, I'm not going to complain about it unless it becomes an issue. But it's immediately right in front of the fourplex, right in front of it. Dogs will poop there too, and that becomes an issue. For example, if you're renting an apartment and every time you come home, you get out of your car and you have to walk to your house and you have to dodge all the dog poop, you don't want to live there. Mostly if you ever stepped in dog poop and tracked it through your house, kind of makes you a little pissed off. So it can be an issue. Mostly if you know what dog did it, and now you're going to be kind of angry at your neighbor for not picking up the dog waste. So I'm telling you, this can be a problem. I'm not kidding. If you're ever dealing with tenants, telling you how they fight. They can get into some crazy fights, and sometimes you're not even involved. Until you have to go there and calm them down. So it can be crazy. But I'm just saying, no one wants to walk past that. No one wants to step on it. No one wants to smell it. So it becomes an issue when you get tenants that don't pick up their poop. And it happens. It's pretty common. A lot of people don't pick up their poop. When you start enforcing it, starting to have a pretty aggressive pet policy, and when I do my pet policy, I tell them I don't put up with the crap. I tell them right away. I don't want to allow pets, but I do because I have a dog, and I know what it's like not to have a dog. And I do let them know that if they don't take care of their dogs, take care of their stuff, I don't want their dogs here either, and we will be getting rid of you. So I try to be pretty frank, and I'm telling you, that has helped a lot, letting them move in. Be straight up with them. You're not going to deal with it. And I have other stuff in my pet policy, and that's more for the end on how I deal with it. But you just have some crazy issues. So, but again, with the poop, the biggest part is the winters. Winters come, and a lot of people don't go outside with the dogs. They just open up the door and let the dog go out, poop and pee, and then come back in. And you can imagine after winter is over, how that poop goes down to the ground and is all over the front yard. So that's usually right now is the main issue that we have with the pooping, is that for the most part, for the summer months, the spring and fall, tenants have been cleaning up their poop, but it's the winter months that you get them out there that they aren't cleaning up after. And then once the winter is over, the snow melts and it's all over the yard. And sometimes it's really hard to get tenants to go out there and clean it up, mostly if there's more than one tenant at the property that has dogs, because they're going to blame it on the other tenant, and that tenant's going to blame it on that tenant. I'm not kidding, you're going to deal with it. So the last part of this con is that I'm going to go with numbers, so it'll kick in, because I understand that I think a majority of pet owners, they're responsible, but it's just those the few that makes it where it's not worth it. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you have 10 tenants living in your apartments, and they all have dogs. Let's say majority of them, I think overall, it's actually going to be 3 of them are going to be probably bad ones, so you still have pretty good odds. I'm going to even take it down to 1. You have one tenant in there that isn't going to abide by the rules and going to cause a lot of damage. That one tenant is going to be so bad, going to ruin the carpets, going to be barking all the time, having all the neighbors call, pooping outside, they don't clean it up. Tons of issues with it, the dog's growling at the neighbors, not being a good dog. And all these problems from that one tenant, it's going to make you, why even deal with it? I don't even need to allow dogs. Instead of having 10 tenants with dogs, that I could take the chance of having that one nightmare, just make it 0. I have 10 tenants with no pets. Because I have a no pet policy. No pets whatsoever. So the easier route to go, just say no pets altogether. So, this is a big issue. And that one tenant, I'm not kidding how one tenant can piss you off enough dealing with them that you just say, nope, I'm not dealing with it anymore. Just not dealing with it. So it is a big deal, and it kind of sucks for everyone else. That's how it is, though. So I'll just leave that there. So now we're going to go into how I've been able to deal with this. Again, I was pretty close on not allowing pets, but since I'm going to allow pets, I'm still going to try to fix the issues as best as possible. And the first one was dealing with carpets. What I did is I got rid of carpets for the most part. I think I have 2 apartments now that have carpets. And that's just because they haven't been ruined yet. And one of them is a duplex where you walk across the floor. It is kind of a little loud downstairs. So I'm going to probably keep carpet there, just cut down on the noise. But all the rest of them, I went to vinyl. And vinyl has been holding up pretty good with pets. Only problem I've had with vinyl is that chairs and couches, sometimes the legs will dig a hole into it, mostly a rocking chair. I had this person that had a rocking chair, and it went back and forth. And somewhere on the bottom, it must have been scraping, and it wore a hole in the vinyl. So that does suck, because now the floor is kind of ruined. But it hasn't been as much as I've had with dogs or damages. And the vinyl has worked out, because I've actually, for even tenants with no pets, they tend to also cause some stains in the carpets. And now I'm not dealing with that. So switching to the vinyl over carpet has went on this issue on repairs and stuff after a tenant moves out has extremely helped that. There's no shampooing. Another big issue was when people moved out. If you had a dog, I wanted it shampooed, because you get some strange people in that have, and I shouldn't call them strange, just sensitive nose. They move in and their nose is so sensitive they don't want to smell any pet stuff. And sometimes that's even after I shampoo it, and I shampoo it pretty good. But my issue was with tenants moving out that didn't issue their shampoo their carpets. I've had it go even so far that I've had people rent a shampooer, still not come to the apartment and shampoo it. They took it to their new place and their parents' place and shampooed those carpets and didn't shampoo the apartment that they were moving out of. And the reason why I know is because my parents lived downstairs, a particular unit that this happened in, and I went up there, and it looked clean, but I could tell that it wasn't shampooed. And I went ahead and shampooed it myself, and we pulled up tons of dog hair and tons of dirt. I did video it and all that stuff, so I got the details on it, because you're going to want to do that. And there's no way. And then we found out Facebook is magical. I'm telling you, when you're having issues with tenants and you want to find out the lowdown, the dirty, look up their Facebook page. Anyways, we got on their Facebook page, and they were talking about how they just got done shampooing their new apartment, and then they also shampooed their parents' house. Just amazing. And they didn't come over and shampoo our house, but the thing is they had their little receipt that they rented a shampooer. And that's what they tried to use on me. And again, that's a good reason why I went over there and I videoed it, because there's no way they did it. And another issue that I'm having with tenants is that there is some that come over, and I have seen them do it, but you can also tell, again, this place, you can really tell that they didn't shampoo it, but I've had other places that I could tell that they shampooed. And what happens is, let's say you have a living room, let's say a 10 by 10. To shampoo that carpet, to do a good shampoo, it's probably still going to take you a good hour to 2 hours. Because if you ever run a shampoo, you have to fill it up with water, and you have to go slow, and it's spraying it with water, the shampoo and the shampoo detergent, spraying it, and then you have to come back and let it soak, and it's sucking that shampoo up. And it's not a fast process, so you have to go all the way back, and then you go it over once more, do the same thing, going back, and you're doing a little area, every foot or two. So, I mean, it takes some time. You're in there sweating your ass off and shit, because it's hot in there when you're running shampoo. And it's just people get in there, and, that same room, they're doing it in 20 minutes. And it's not sucking up that dirt. It's not good enough. All it's doing is making it worse. It's throwing that water, and they're not using detergents. A lot of times they skip the $15 to $30 worth of detergent that they need to do the shampooing with it. But, I mean, they're just washing that smell up, and now you go there and, it has a more pet smell than it did before they even shampooed it. So I've had a lot of problems with the shampooing. Huge problem with the shampooing. It's huge. So that's the whole carpet thing again. And landlords, they'll tell you that it's just not fun to deal with, about people in the carpeting and having them do this kind of stuff just because they don't want to pay for it. And like now I have to pay for it, and it's incurred costs. And a lot of times it's because I allow a pet. So I got rid of the carpet. So that's what I did. Now the next one is the dog barking. It's going to be the next one because you're going to get a lot of complaints on that. So how did I handle that? First off, when they move in, it's in my pet policy that I don't put up with it. And the way I do with it is it's a part of the noise ordinance for the city. And we will call the cops. We advise the other neighbors that are calling in for a complaint to go ahead and call the cops. But thank you for letting us know that it's an issue. And that's how we deal with it. What happens is when the cops are called, they're going to come over and investigate it. You know, if they find that the dog is barking or if there was another noise complaint, they're going to come over and investigate it. If they find that it is happening, they're probably just going to give a warning. This comes down on who you are, because obviously if they like you or anything else, they might give you more than one warning. I think most cops will give out more than one warning, as long as they're not too close together. Mainly because the cops might not know that they've been already over there. So a lot of times you're going to get more than one warning, so that's nice. But eventually, if they are coming over there quite a bit, you're going to end up getting a citation for it, and it's going to cost you some money. So usually after they start getting a fine or citation, normally the tenants are more likely to fix the problem. The issues that I had with as being a landlord coming over there, or even if a manager comes over there, they're going to sit there and say my dog wasn't barking, or that, they're going to know what neighbor it is, that guy in E, apartment E, that, whatever, he's always over there playing music real loud, or his TV's always up, or some complaint. Again, it's not, I don't want to get into that, the cops are better to go there. They're going to handle it a lot more better than what I'm going to handle it. And with me, I'm going to keep on coming over there and giving them a warning, a warning, a warning. Again, I made it in my other video. Should I issue a fine? You really think that's going to stick? I don't think so. I don't want to issue a fine over the noise complaint. I'm just going to let the police, local ordinance deal with it. And that's worked out. It's actually come down quite a bit. In general, I do it with all ordinances now. I don't go over there and I don't babysit tenants. If there's a noise complaint, the cops are going to go over there and they're going to handle it. And I'm telling you, when you don't do it this way, I'm telling you, you can go over there day after day after day, and it's never going to go away because there's nothing to really enforce it. You either let other tenants move out by not enforcing it, like kicking them out, or you got to evict them. That's the two things it comes down to. And honestly, I don't want to go through the troubles of evicting someone over their dog, so it's been much easier just to have the police go over there and handle that issue. Now with the poop outside, now I've also put it in my pet policy about how the poop is going to be, and that the first we're going to give you a warning, the next time we're going to come over there, and we also tell them right away. Like I said, I'm pretty straightforward with them. It's not my dog. I don't want to come over there, and I don't want to clean up your dog poop. That's not my responsibility. If I have to clean up your dog poop, I don't want you living here. No buts, N, and Fs. Just get out. I'm not dealing with it. I don't want to deal with it. So I am very clear on it. I'm not a dickhead about it, but I just want them to know that I don't want to have the problems right away. And usually the problems, they're solved right away. I don't have to go over there. So it has fixed the problem. I also limited pets on size. So now I only keep small dogs just because the size issues, again, is bigger poop, more problems, the whole deal with that, and people being scared about it. And also, most people do put their dogs outside. I do have it on my policy that they can't chain up their dog outside, but there's a little tree out there in a bush that I always go over there, and I find sometimes their dog's out there for an hour or two. Not a big deal to me. We just don't want it to be an outside dog, but just having that when you're it all depends. Most of my apartments, we don't have a lot of kids in, so it hasn't been a problem. So that's the reason why I haven't enforced it. But if it was a problem, I would enforce it. But we allow people to do it, but we just don't want their dogs to become an outside dog. But the reason why this is a problem is what if there was another tenant that had kids that were out there, and again, I don't know the dog, and I don't know how they are with kids and other people. And again, we have to treat everyone the same. So that's the whole issue with that. Did I cover everything? But for the most part, those things right there has covered most of my issues. We still get it every once in a while. But I mean, I realize that, you know, to allow people to have their dogs, you know, I want to keep my dog. As a landlord, I'm willing to put up with a little bit, but most of it, I have found ways to get a lot of it out of there. I know at some times, at some point, I'm going to have it where a tenant's going to move out, and I'm probably going to incur a little bit of cost. But it's, now that I got rid of the carpets, it's not much more than a typical tenant without the dogs. And now even with my dogs with pet policy, I don't even charge a pet deposit. I've been doing this for 6 months now with no deposits. But it's just because I haven't had any problems with dogs ever since I got rid of the carpet. So the carpets was the main issue, so I went to vinyl. And with that is, I do get some tenants that move in that want carpet, and I tell them they can put throw rugs down, or I tell them that they can put their own carpet in. And usually they understand that when I start telling them that it's about the dog issue. And most people after they move in, I've actually talked to some people after they move in with the vinyl. They said they actually love the vinyl because it's easier to clean, and you know, they spill something on the floor, they just mop it up, and they had never had any issues with it. So they said they like it. It's only sometimes in the winter months, maybe it might be a little cold, but I have seen people in my apartments throw down those big rugs. So I think people are still putting stuff down, and you know, then it's benefit to both of us because now they can still have carpet. They just gotta buy a rug, and now I don't have to deal with the costs and deal with their shampooing of the carpets when they move out. So it's been a win-win, and for the most part, I still haven't had any problems of not renting out my units going to the vinyl. Most time it's also I get a lot of people with dogs, so like they're more than willing to sacrifice the carpet being in an apartment that allow their dogs. So I just wanted to make a video. For the end of this video, as a landlord, I'm not telling you that you should allow dogs. That's going to be on you. This is your call, you know, how you want to handle your stuff. But I did want to point out my view on how I have dealt with it and how I have made it where I do allow dogs. Again, this is your property. This is your investment. You have a large costly asset that you're actually renting out for a comparative to the cost for a low rental rate. So you're taking a lot of chance of having a lot of damages. So I definitely don't want to say that you need to. I just think that you maybe put some more time and consideration into people that do have dogs and try to fix some of those issues that you're going to have with the animal and keep your costs down. And I just wanted to talk about, you know, what I've done, and you know, by allowing tenants in, you're going to have a lot of happy tenants, and it's just, you got to be, you know, firm with them, let them know what they're getting into, and that you don't want to deal with, you know, the pet problems, because I mean, you don't have to allow them, and you know that you are allowing it, and that you do have a high expectation on them being in your apartment if they're going to have dogs. So hopefully this helps, and for you tenants out there, hopefully you understand why this is a big issue, and if you have a dog, definitely fulfill your responsibilities. Where I live right now, I have to pick up the dog poop when we go outside. My dog doesn't bark. So there's ways that you can do it. You gotta train your dog. And if you're one of those people that aren't, I don't feel sorry for you. If your dog's barking, pooping all over the place, ruining stuff, you know, I don't feel sorry. You know, you're a tenant that, or even an owner that don't need a dog. So that's just the way it is. So I'll see you guys later, and hopefully this helps. Girl might want to see this.
He's gonna get his ass fucked. He's gonna get your ass whooped.